Today we're talking about my nemesis, foundation. Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mary, and today I wanted to my beginning of year inventory with the category that I find the most tempting. Although it's not the category that takes me the longest to go through, that would probably have to be lip products. It is all the same a category that takes quite some time to go through. So let's look at my beginning of year foundation inventory. I will post down in the description box what my color is for all of these products, but essentially the purpose of this video is just to talk about what's currently in my collection and talk about what I feel like should be a more reasonable number. I certainly have a ridiculous quantity of products in my collection. I currently have 14 foundations. That's too many. I do have 2 currently in my project pan. I know that it's easier to go through liquid foundations than sticks, but I will talk about the characteristics of each of these. I do not expect to declutter any of these today because quite frankly, I enjoy the characteristics of each of them. Let's start with powder, since these are the foundations that I very rarely reach for. I have a Laura Geller Baked Foundation. Ever since I started using Retin-A, I really have backed off any products that are drying to my skin, and I find this very drying. However, I have not decluttered it because it's actually quite nice in the summertime in my T-zone if I'm going lighter, not wearing foundation. So that will stay. I have another Laura Geller Baked Balance and Brighten foundation. Of the 2, I prefer the regular baked to this one. I find this one is not as good a shade match for me. And with powder foundations, if something's off, it just looks ridiculous. Now we're moving into tinted moisturizers. This is the Bobbi Brown Nude Finish Tinted Moisturizer SPF 15. This is in the shade Light. Rarely do I wear this. I will swatch a little bit on my hand. It's kind of a strange product, the way it goes into your skin. You will blend and blend and blend, and it takes longer than you would think to settle into the skin. It is blurring. It does neutralize some of the cooler tones in my flesh. I just don't reach for it. If I were going to declutter any, it would be this. So let me think about that. I might be sending that on. I do have 2 CC creams, which I adore. This is the IT Cosmetics CC cream, the original formula. I wear it in the shade Light. I enjoy this not just on its own. On its own, it doesn't really set down on me, so I need to powder it. But mixed in with a more full coverage foundation like this one, I find it actually is a wonderful mixing foundation. I do have 1 additional tube in backup because not sure why. Certainly I've moved away from that hoarding mindset, but I do have an additional in backup. I do have 1 full tube of the original formula of the Estee Lauder Double Wear Light in the shade 2.0. This was a product that was discontinued, and I just ended up purchasing backups because it was basically half price. Note to self, that's never a reason to actually buy anything. My absolute favorite CC cream is the Chanel CC cream. This one stays in rotation, has a lightly rose scent. Should I swatch a little bit for you? I wear the shade 2.0 as I do in most Chanel foundation products. Feels absolutely wonderful on the skin. Very nourishing, blurring, and one of my all-time favorites. That one would certainly accompany me to Mars or my deserted island. Another Chanel foundation. This one, of course, is a hybrid skincare blurring foundation. I am so stingy with this that I'm not going to swatch it for you. I have the shade Light Medium. Very nourishing, very blurring. Absolutely adore this. When that foundation was first released, some of my favorite YouTube creators would put that foundation on and sort of note how sheer it was and what light coverage, but I could always see from my perspective this incredible blurring effect, and I'm happy to report that I certainly see that same thing on my own skin. That brings us to traditional liquid foundations. It looks like I have 4 traditional liquid foundations in my stash. Chanel recently reformulated and changed the name of this foundation. It is the Perfection Lumiere Velvet. I wear, again, the shade 20. I have this on my face today. It is in my project pan. It's dark packaging, so it's hard to tell how much is left. My closest estimation is that I'm about halfway through this foundation. I do love it. I really love it, but clearly when I run out, I do not need to replace it. I don't need to replace any of these. Second liquid foundation. This is my Sisley Phyto Tint Ultra Eclat, and I have the shade Light Beige. This gives the Chanel a run for its money in my estimation. It does not contain alcohol, and whereas the Chanel does. Another reason why I likely will never repurchase this foundation. This one behaves better on my skin. Estee Lauder Double Wear. This is in the shade 1N2 ECRU. I do like this. I have never found it cakey, but I apply it just like I apply my Chanel, which is I put a little dollop on the back of my hand, take a dampened beauty blender, and just dot it on and blend in one area at a time. This is a fantastic foundation. I really, really enjoy it. I don't know why I keep purchasing foundations. Foundation's the kind of product that I've always been super curious about. Of all the categories, it seems that with foundation, and with new formulations, and as skincare ingredients get better, and as formulations get better, it's something that I am just always so tempted by. This one I caved in on. I purchased the Lemare, and I have to say, part of the reason I purchased this is the aroma. To me, this smells like port wine, and I love it. I love the finish. I love the color match. I'm in the shade 150 Natural, and I love it. I just love it. This one to me is a total experience. It is a gorgeous skin-like finish, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous aroma. Gorgeous packaging too. Heavy frosted glass bottle. We're down to 4. All right, my final 4 foundations. We'll talk about my stick foundations. This is my Tom Ford Traceless Stick Foundation. I wear the shade 1.5, which is cream. I love it. I love everything about this foundation. Holy grail material. I generally apply it. I smear it on my face, brush it out with a brush. Excellent longevity, offers a beautiful skin-like finish, and it's just one of my all-time faves. Also picked up the Westman Atelier. I'm in the shade Atelier 1. Like the Tom Ford, it just has a gorgeous finish. Now this one is a natural beauty product. I think that was one of my temptations. There you go. It's gorgeous. It leans a little yellow-orange on my skin, so the color is not as good a match as my Tom Ford. But I do like it. I do like it. The packaging is absolutely luxe. Look at that magnetized top. Scrumptious. Which leads to my 2 beloved gel foundations. Now, the Chanel Super Maj is holy grail material for me. It is a whipped gel foundation. It is a perfect color. It is one of those foundations with wonderful skincare ingredients. It just feels like a facial treatment when I wear it, and I do absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. I can't imagine being without this one, frankly. It's gorgeous. And because Barney's went out of business, I did pick up the Chantecaille Future Skin in the shade Alabaster, which I was sort of on the fence. I usually am an excellent... Michelle Wong is generally my guide for foundation skin matches. I also use Temptalia, but on this one, Barney's had already run out of Ivory, I believe is the one that Wong uses, and after watching Abby Bliss White, I thought I would go ahead and try Alabaster. It was one of the last few in stock at Barney's in their liquidation sale, so the price was fantastic, and I knew I wanted to try this, especially since I absolutely... I'm so smitten by the Chanel. And while this one is spendy, it's not quite as spendy as this one. So I have not been disappointed. I very much enjoy it. I end up applying it with the brush that came with the Chanel Le Super Maj, and it's gorgeous. Feels so refreshing on the skin. These two are my finds of... These two blew my budget in the end of my low buy year last year, but I have no regrets. They are splendid. All right, that wraps up my beginning of year inventory for foundation. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the thumbs up below. If you're doing a low buy, leave me a comment in the comments below. I'd love to pop over to your channel and see how you're budgeting and working through, especially if your stash got as bloated as mine did, and if you're working to sort of minimize and focus your stash. Thanks again for joining me. Ciao.